So after Tom Hafey, there was Tony Jewell, who took them to the promised land in 1980, their most recent premiership.
We rise, we fall, unite us all.
A lot of coaches are judged on the premierships, but I think you've got to be judged on what you get out of the players that are there. We've seen sides that Mickey Mouse could have coached to win the premiership. I've seen other sides that, Jesus Christ, might have had a bit of trouble getting them up.
Break the wall.
Before I begin, I want to acknowledge what an incredible person Danny Frawley was, both on and off the field. Rest in peace, Spud.
Now, the Richmond coaching job, it's not a great history. Will you be taking out a superannuation policy?
Well, that remains to be seen, Quarters. Listen, as a backman, I always used to look forward. I think we can't afford to look at the past. We're really keen to just get our hands dirty and get in there and hopefully put the club where they belong. And obviously with the powers of Essendon and Carlton and these clubs, Richmond really are a sleeping giant, and we're looking forward to hopefully getting back up there with the powers of Victorian clubs.
The dawn of the new millennium brought with it new hope. The Tigers were hoping to leave the disappointment of the 90s behind them and push forward under new coach Danny Frawley. Things did get off to a slightly shaky start though.
You've been there, you've played against them, and now you're a commentator and you see them. There's something fundamentally amiss with this football club, isn't there?
It purely gets down to people, Mike. It gets down to people and recruiting. And I think Geelong, in the same place in 99, and when I took over the Tigers, Mark Thompson took over, they had a constant. They had Thompson, Cook, Costa. Richmond, unfortunately, has had a lot of change. You know, I was there for 5 years. I had 4 footy ops and 4 CEOs, and I had a president who appointed me, Leon Daphne. He was there for a week.
The comparison with Geelong Frawley makes is an interesting one. But if the results of the 1999 AFL draft were anything to go by, you can see how important it is to get your recruiting right. Have a look at Richmond and Geelong's first 4 picks in the 1999 draft, for example.
Round 1. Collingwood had 3rd selection in round 1. However, they traded that to Richmond in a deal which sees Clinton King go to Punt Road. Fremantle have the next 2 selections and then Brisbane. However, it was to have been Adelaide with selection 6, but the Lions took that spot for Matthew Clark, along with selection 21. Richmond were 7th, but gave that to the Magpies, with Stephen McKee going to Collingwood.
Round 1, selection number 3, Richmond.
Player 4088, Aaron Fiora, Port Adelaide Magpies.
And Aaron Fiora, what a talent this young player is. Debuted for Port Adelaide in the month of July with the best on-ground performance. Classy wingman, left footer who plays inside, uses the ball very effectively with hand and feet.
Player number 4952, Joel Corey from East Perth.
How influential was this man in the 3rd quarter? Finished with 25 disposals, 16 contested possessions. Just a big game player, never rushes himself, never panics, and he was big today.
Player 3960, Ezra Poyas, Paran Dragons.
Ezra has been on the screen quite often in the last 10 minutes. He captained the Victorian Metropolitan side this year, made All-Australian at National Championships, kicked 5 goals grand final day at the MCG for the Paran Dragons, and football is his life. He was waiting for this moment.
Keen to do well, minimum. Wants to play 200 games.
Well, you've got to aim high, I think,
that's
Sandy.
Great.
Win
that's
a Brownlow, yeah, that's
ambitious,
fantastic.
and that's terrific to see that in a young kid who's really aspiring to be the best he can possibly be.
Player 4733, Paul Chapman from the Calder Cannons.
Always delivers in grand final. He's a Norm Smith medalist from way back. Here's Paul Chapman. His 4th grand final with over 20 disposals.
Adelaide have the number 36 selection, and the Tigers were to have been next, but they swapped with the Bulldogs for Leon Cameron. Selection 38 is the Cats, then 39th pick ends up with the Tigers after they swapped with the Saints for Justin Platt.
3876, Cameron Ling from the Geelong Falcons.
Well, that is fantastic.
He had 20 disposals himself, played on Dane Swan, kept Dane Swan to 20. What a great performance.
Scott Homewood is joining Richmond.
Yeah, an outstanding potential, 192 centimetres. Just appears to me to have very good speed. As mentioned earlier, Sandy, he's very quick over the 5, 10, 20 metre range.
Player number 4387, Corey Enright from Port Adelaide Magpies.
Hard worker.
And he continues to amaze Corey Enright. I think he hasn't got leg speed, but you never see him get beaten.
Greg Beck calling the name of a leading forward who can play at full forward, half forward flank. Andrew Mills represented the Vic country at the national championships that we're talking about a moment ago with Paul. Promising player, only lightly built at the moment.
Too nice about the coach. Interesting on that one. I think if you're honest, straight shooter, that's the way I play the game, that's the way I'm going to coach the game. Coaching's a huge challenge. It's something that's in your face all the time, but I know I'm up to it. I want to be a career coach, and it starts now.
Yes, Wednesday night football, can you believe it? It's come early, but boy, I'm glad it's here. It's Richmond and Melbourne, the Tigers with a new coach, a new board, the Demons with a new captain. We've got a new commentator, you know him. He's a legend, the dual premiership coach from the Crows, Malcolm Blake. Welcome, Malcolm.
It's great to be back again, Bruce. Terrific.
You raised your eyebrows when you heard Danny Frawley say career coach, didn't you?
I did, actually. You'd love to be one, but gee, there's no guarantees, is there? But good luck to Danny in his first game.
The Tigers have just come out onto the ground. They've got Leon Cameron from the Bulldogs and Clinton King at 21 at his third club.
Yeah, it's a surprise. I'm also surprised that Cameron ended up with the Tigers. I thought he had a great career at the Bulldogs, and I would expect him to play at half-back.
OK, so Cameron there and King there, newcomers, a good lineup. The Tigers, as I said, about to come out and break their banner. And for Danny Frawley, what a night it is for him. So this is a good start now for Richmond. A couple of goals. Kellaway to James again, just tries to unload. That's a terrible kick, very wide. Richardson's got a good chance. He's got it. That's where his acceleration counted, didn't it? For Holby. He was so quick off the mark. A huge test here though. Kicks from 55 metres, maybe a bit closer in the end. 52. Unloads and goes all the way and drills it home.
A finger, I should say.
Ben Holland gets it to Richardson. Richardson to fall forward. Wants Ottens at the back. Defended pretty well at the back, Ottens. Rogers clever. Well done. One option. Did it go?
Super kick. Waited for him.
And then weighted it perfectly as Richardson kicks it high. Belted away from Holland from Ingerson. Ottens read it best. Little give was fantastic. And Bowden just kicks the goal. Welcome back, three-quarter time here in the opening match of the Coca-Cola 2000 season.
After a solid opening 3 quarters under Frawley, things were looking pretty good against Melbourne in round 1. But in true Richmond fashion, the Tigers turned what should have been an easy win into a tense last quarter.
Steve Phoebe, hard tag.
Just tell Otts to sprint up as fast as he can. Get him up!
He's got a chance here, he's 50 metres out. It's a good kick. It's a very big kick. He might have got it. He has.
There's no point for Gergi staying on his man a full back. He might as well push up the ground.
Danny Frawley's won in his first match as a coach. They've hung on.
Spud, how's the heart rate?
Oh yeah, the heart rate was about 255. Listen to the boys' credit, they really hung on. We went out hard early, which took a lot out of us. But credit, we really hung on. Melbourne were very good. that, you know, it sure beats the hell out of losing Hutto. And listen, our pre-season's a lot of doubters out there, but I think you can see the way we really attack the ball. That you know, our best footy can match anyone's, and I think you'll see the way we, you know, 101 ball, which a lot of people have doubted out there. You know, we're going to be a force to be reckoned with. It's only one game, but we're pretty happy with it.
How important is obviously a win tonight? If you had lost that, it could have been pretty devastating.
Yes and no. No, I thought there was some fantastic efforts out there tonight. You know, we had Matty Richardson who hadn't played for 5 weeks. But Clinton King had an interrupted pre-season as well. In that respect, you know, sure, the loss would have been devastating, but there was still some fantastic efforts.
You want to be a career coach? Not a bad way to start.
Yes, there's a few more grey hairs, Hutto, after the night. But listen, it's the players' night. It's not mine. It's only one game, but they're the guys that should be interviewing, mate.
Good on you, Danny.
After holding on by 2 points in round 1, Richmond lost their next 2 games against Essendon and North Melbourne. So it was vital that they didn't lose to Fremantle in both clubs' first ever game at the new Colonial Stadium in Docklands in round 4.
5 for Richardson, and the Tigers still alive. And the ball is out of bounds, and we'll have a throw in. Richardson hobbling at the moment, limping back towards the goal square. The man who's most likely to kick some goals for them.
Now, he may have hurt his foot here, Matthew Richardson. It was good defensive play by Bandy. Came across with that big fist. Better see where Richardson hurt his foot. Now it's got caught underneath that pack. Now he's still hobbling, and he's still got the trainer with him in the goal square.
13 seconds. Harrison, centre wing. Kick smothered by Brown. The young boy playing just his 4th game. Well done. Harrison, Brown's got him too.
And that's smothered by Brown.
The Dockers have won it by a point.
And we just saw Damien Drum ecstatic in the coach's box, and that young boy Brown, that wonderful smother on centre wing. Damien Drum, he'll be thrilled. That's an historic win for the Dockers. Their first against the Tigers in Melbourne.
Not only did they lose by a point, but they also lost star forward Matthew Richardson for the entire season with a serious foot injury.
Well, there's your joint in the middle of your foot there, basically the 2 bones that join in the big toe and the next toe. I'm not sure what they're called, mate, but they dislocated out of the joint, and the ligaments that hold those 2 toes together basically all ruptured, so I had a pretty unstable foot, obviously, to play league footy, and you need a stable foot. So
now, did we get all that at home? No, we'll do it again. Now, come on now. There he is. Now, go on.
That joint in there, those 2 bones dislocated out of the joint and ruptured the ligaments holding it all together there.
By the time round 8 rolled round, the Tigers were 11th on the ladder and weren't expected to pose much of a challenge against second-place Geelong. With many of the Tigers senior players out injured, it would be up to the younger Richmond players to prove all the doubters wrong.
Welcome to Colonial Stadium. And it's Geelong and Richmond round 8, and the roof is certainly on.
On the other hand, you know, we're looking at now the Tigers. They will rely heavily, I think, on Brendan Gale being able to just relieve young Ottens around the middle of the ground and maybe slip forward and take a mark or 2 and kick a goal, as will Ben Holland and Ottens. There's a big reliance there, and of course the smaller midfielders, Hilton, Matthew Rogers, etc., Dragosevic, who I believe will start on the bench, and Matthew Knights is a terrific leader for the Tigers.
The coach of the Tigers in Danny Frawley still doesn't have Matthew Richardson or Wayne Campbell or Cameron, so he's got a fair bit to overcome, but he's down there having a chat to Paul Couch.
Now you're goal kicking with Matthew Richardson out. Ottens and Holland need to do more?
Yeah, well, it's probably a blessing in disguise, the roof being closed today, because, as you know, it doesn't suit the big boys, so I was really happy to see the roof closed, because, you know, against Sydney and St Kilda, they've been terrific, really catching the ball for us down forward, and obviously we had no input whatsoever from those guys, so, yeah, it's been stressed that we can't afford to have any passengers. Our wins against Sydney and St Kilda were good, where we had contributions from everyone all over the ground, and, you know, we just can't afford to take passengers into the game that we had last week.
Ben Holland from inside the square goes directly towards goal. Tigers can't take the mark. Off the ground, it's a goal. A goal of the Tigers kicked by Andrew Callaway.
Little did anyone know, but the Cats game would yield Richmond a then club record of 12 individual goal kickers in a game.
Looks good early.
Hand pass away. Chance for the Tigers. Flying shot at goal. It's a Joe Barton.
support, found it in Chappie, quick kick to centre half forward, and great mark.
Look at Broderick. He can't get up quick enough.
The marking forwards of the Tigers are certainly putting a lot of pressure on the Geelong defenders.
Ability from just outside 50. He's kicked, I think, 13 goals this year, now it's 14.
One of the chest of Bowden.
Hasn't he improved his kicking?
A beautiful long kick of the football, Joel Bowden, and he runs through the line. Spectacular footy, goes out wide, and the mark is taken by Gale.
Good lead.
Tigers, very much. I tell you what, their supporters wouldn't mind this sort of football if they could put it together for 4 quarters. Ben Holland, Matthew Knights, wide to Broderick, he'll kick a goal. Paul Broderick will kick a goal. Danny Frawley off to the right, Darren Crocker and the injured Wayne Campbell. Tivendale, can he be rewarded? A flying shot at goal by Greg Tivendale. He's put it through for the Tigers.
On this occasion, Ottens let it down. Daffy wanted a free. Gets it out to King. Another snap on goal! And he's kicked it as well.
Dragged down, got the kick away. Dragosevic to Biddiscombe. And Biddiscombe joins the goal-kicking spree for the Tigers. Half forward, mark taken by Dragosevic, should kick a goal. Mark Dragosevic joins in, and he does kick Richmond's 11th goal.
Callaway, Andrew, good break. Andrew Callaway kicked it up towards full forward. Scholl in front, but Ottens, he spilt it. Knights was on his left side. Plenty of space for Holland. Should drill the goal and does. Well played, Tigers.
By young Holland. He kicks across the half forward. It's a mark.
Well read, Hilton.
A Richmond mark to Rory Hilton. This young bloke doing a very good job with his AFL career. Rory Hilton goes back and kicks a goal.
To get it out to Ottens. Big marking contest here. Oh, it's a great mark. Rogers surely can't miss from there. No mistake. Great start by the Tigers.
But since then, he's been pretty good, Clinton King. 18 possessions around the middle of the ground, and that kick is effective, and this young fella may get a goal in the last 2 or 3 minutes of the match. Talking about going for the Tigers' 22nd goal.
Beautiful.
Lovely kick.
The boot, he can play.
It is a goal. A great kick by Fiore. So the last kick of the game by Aaron Fiore, along with Mark Dragosevic, 2 of the youngsters that the Tigers can look forward to for plenty of football. Great theme song, the Tigers. Lots of supporters here at Colonial Stadium, and their players have not let them down. They've absolutely slaughtered Geelong. Richmond 23-9-147. Big winners, 70 points.
An injured Scotty Turner retired following the season, which made way for Darren Gaspar, who had a breakout year and took over the role as Richmond's key fullback going forward.
You talk about gutsy wins. Oh, Danny, how
Danny,
good is
you've won.
coaching?
Danny, you've won.
Look, he's put through the ringer.
Geez, that's some close games.
You never got stressed like that, Malcolm. Benny Gale takes the mark.
Last quarter, hasn't he, this lad?
Oh, it's been fantastic.
Actually, the combination of Ottens got taken off early. Yep. And they put the small on, and there it is.
A great victory to Richmond. Gutsy, workmanlike.
The win over the Lions capped off a fantastic month for the Tigers. Danny Frawley had taken the Richardson-less Richmond from 11th to the top 4, and at the completion of round 15, the Tigers were in 3rd position, poised to make a charge towards September. Constant injuries to key players and off-the-field discipline issues did, however, cause the momentum to shift.
Overcoming injuries wasn't a problem for Danny Frawley's Tigers, meanwhile, but knowing when to say no was. First, Nick Daffy locked up for drunkenness after a night out in Bendigo. Then Brad Ottens followed in his footsteps and tried to beat a hasty exit, both falling victim to the new culture and policy enforced by Frawley at Richmond. They were outed by the club for a week each.
This will be the final action of the day. Knights has it. Siren. Bobber's still unbeaten. 17 wins straight at the start of the season. A club record. And so emphatically, margin 101 points.
The loss to the Bombers started a string of heavy losses for the Tigers, and their season was on an absolute knife edge with 3 games to go.
Matty Knights leads out the Tigers. A huge game for them. They've lost their last 4 in a row and 5 out of the last 6 to slump from 3rd place on the ladder to out of the 8th. For the day. Chance for the Tigers. Chaffee out to the top of the goal square. James again. James kicks truly. Here come the Tigers. Oh, look at the Richmond players here. Chaffee runs towards the 50-metre line and goes for goal and might have kicked it. He has. Knights, slippery as an eel. Back to Campbell for the 3rd time. Wide he goes. Tivendale off the left. On the breeze. And they're in front.
Just moving up from the forward line, so they're forced to overuse the ball.
Big kick by Biddiscombe and a top mark by Ottens.
More players.
He's a beautiful kick for a fella his size. And that is home for a goal. Just had the crowd, 19,096 to come and watch a game that was worthy of more than that.
Fantastic mark.
Top mark by Biddiscombe. Biddiscombe to seal the game. It starts left. It gets back on the breeze for a goal, and Richmond are home. Ball comes down to Black. This is the last act of the day. The ball goes out of bounds, and there's the siren. Richmond have won it, and their small band of fans here are celebrating a famous win. They were 17 points down at 3/4 time, but have won by 27.
A gutsy win against Fremantle meant that they were inside the 8 and needed 1 win from their last 2 games against Sydney and Carlton to make the finals in Frawley's first year.
Running support Cameron. Cameron goes straight down the ground. Mark needs to be taken. Crumbs gathered. Crumbs gathered by Chaffee. Hooked the kick. Look at Brad Ottens. He was beckoning for it. The ball goes down in the direction of a goal! An absolute goal! And a magnificent goal! I don't know what it was, but it was a goal!
Got loose man, if they can get it out to Burke, he takes it and laid it up brilliantly. Cameron at full tilt. Tigers surging forward, they need a mark, they've got it, Rogers. 1 minute 38 on the clock. Will he go for goal? I think he must. He sets it up, it was a wobbly one, Dunkley took the mark.
Well, now's the time you would wind down the clock if possible.
1:22 left. Goods. Matthews.
What a win by the Swans. What an amazing finish. A 1-point win by the Sydney Swans in the despair. You can see it all over the ground. You'd think they'd lost the grand final, Richmond. It may prove to be their grand final. Emotional scenes in the box. Well, they had a crack, but the Swans somehow held on.
So Richmond's season has come to an end. They missed the final 8 by 4.68%. And Carlton standing by for a big finals campaign. 1911, 125 have belted Richmond, 7-10, 52.
For the 4th time in 7 seasons, the Tigers finished in 9th. This one being an absolute gut punch after being in 3rd place just 7 weeks earlier, and had suffered 2 one-point losses to interstate sides at Colonial Stadium during the year.
The national rules team arrived home from Ireland this morning.
As Trent Crode proudly displayed the spoils of victory from Australia's international rules win over Ireland, Wayne Campbell was coming to terms with the prospect of leading the club he's played for the last 9 years.
Danny rang me yesterday morning and just said that he wanted to catch up with me, but didn't obviously know that. So, yeah, it's a bit of a surprise, and yeah, it's good, I suppose.
How would you feel about captaining the team?
I'd love to.
As a likely replacement for dumped captain Matthew Knights.
To be captain would be, if it happens, I'm not sure whether it's going to happen or not, would be magnificent.
Controversially, Matthew Knights was replaced as Richmond captain by Wayne Campbell, who found out he had the role after being ambushed by journalists at the Melbourne airport following the 2000 International Rules Series. Players James White, Brett Evans, Clay Sampson and Robert Powell were amongst the players who were delisted at the end of Frawley's first season in charge. However, the 2000 draft yielded far better return than the previous year. The Tigers picked up Kane Pettifer, Mark Coughlin, Andrew Cracker, Chris Newman and Chris Hyde with their selections. Mark Morinda was traded to the West Coast Eagles and Ben Harrison went to the Bulldogs. Due to the Sydney Olympics taking place in mid-September, the 2000 AFL season ended a month earlier than usual. This allowed Matthew Richardson extra recovery time from his foot injury. He was fired up and fit for round 1 against Melbourne.
Getting back, Richardson, he's got it. Too big, too strong, too good. Kicks to the square, getting back is Ottens.
A controversial change of captaincy saw Wayne Campbell take the reins from Matthew Knights. While most people had an opinion on Danny Frawley's decision to alter the leadership structure, the players themselves adapted easily. Knights kicking a goal after the three-quarter time siren that swung the momentum back the Tigers' way.
And the Tigers lead by 28 points at three-quarter time. Silla, been handy today to Chaffey. Edge of the centre square, centering kick, Campbell. He come from a long way back. Part of that
Campbell's 24 possessions and 3 goals are best on ground performance.
Swept on that time by Brown, gives it to Campbell, kicks it over his head and kicks a goal. The
31-point victory set Richmond off on the right foot, and it was a win welcomed by the coach.
After a solid win in round 1, no one was prepared for what was about to happen in the Tigers' round 2 clash with the Western Bulldogs.
Half forward, congested half forward. Trouble in the middle, boys. There's a bit of a scuffle here.
Oh, there is a time.
And Matty's going in now. Look at this.
Oh, it is
right in there.
And Liberatore's in there. Players on the ground. Campbell, this is fantastic.
He's got blood all over him, Knights.
Brown's gone in hard as well.
He has been whacked.
And this is an old-fashioned melee. Now, Tipper, what did you see there?
I didn't see anything at all, except for Knights going down. Then I saw him go up, and everybody went to
look at Knights.
You just see what happens. I'll keep an eye on it, boys.
And Richardson furious there at the moment. Knights, look at that. That's a horrible scene for Richmond. And it certainly was a little bit off the football. No doubt about that. Play's gone on. Yeah. The crowd's unhappy. There's plenty of spite in this game early at the MCG.
The umpire hasn't given the blood rule either. Here he goes now.
That is unbelievable.
And Richardson has lost his head here a little bit in the middle. Now he's gone after Ellis.
He's after Libber too, I think.
As Knights is not a pretty sight there in the middle of the ground. Oh, and down goes Liberatore as well. So Rowan Smith's charged in. This is old-fashioned footy, Hawk. It's got a bit tough and nasty early on.
There goes our Tuesday night.
Matthew Knights' face is just covered in blood. Look, it's not good for Talib, I tell you.
The thing is, Matty Robbins had the job.
He's having to go to the bench now.
Now, Tipper, take us through what he's doing at the moment. He's being restrained by the doctor, Chris Bradshaw.
He's just having to go at the Western Bulldogs' bench and said, boys, you're in for a day today. Well, he's pumped. He wants to get back on the ground, no doubt about that.
The afternoon. Let's have a look at what we saw earlier. Look at Knights. He's already looking like Hannibal in there.
Well, Liberatore was involved, Knights was involved, and I think the moment of impact there, Knights may have already been bleeding, so...
Yep, you're right, Hutch.
Yeah, that was post what happened earlier. Absolutely.
So you're red hot, Hutto, aren't you?
There's Danny's having a chat with him.
I don't think he punched himself in the nose. So.
Hang on now. Danny Frawley put his arm around Matthew Knights and
just showing him to the ground
and pointing at the umpires. Now, he can't do that. We'll get back to that. A couple of suggestions around that might have been some ill intent from Liberatore, perhaps a backhander. As the siren sounds to put Tiger fans out of their misery. More Tigers here today than Bulldogs.
Let's watch Liberatore too and just see what reaction he gets from the Tiger players, if there's anything go to shake his hand.
Rather than hide from the issue, Danny Frawley put it out there that he couldn't wait until the rematch in round 17. Tigers President Clinton Casey also had his say at a club function, creating tension between the two clubs.
Well, all I can say is the Richmond Football Club are a really proud club, and it'll be payback time at some stage.
Is that Matthew Knights was king hit by Tony Liberatore right out there on the MCG. The only reason you'd expect a club to condone such appalling conduct would be if a player was acting under instructions.
Over the following 2 weeks, The Tigers defeated Brisbane and Collingwood to be 3 wins from their first 4 games.
Then the other, chips it out in front of Broderick. Put it on your boot, and he does! The Tigers steady. Broderick gets the goal. Let's see what he does from 48 metres.
He's pointed it.
Go across the face.
That's
here's Broderick again. Broderick! That could be it.
You know, 3-1, if you do that every 4 weeks, you're going to be thereabouts. So we're wrapped with the start of the season. We knew last year we started 1-3, and it really did put us behind the 8 ball. So 3-1's a terrific start for us, but it starts again next week, and we look forward to it.
Otten's out of the centre. Well, takes them on. Does what he did last week with the one-hand bounce, and then kicks the full forward. Great mark, Richardson.
Richmond then had their first ever victory against the West Coast Eagles in Perth, before thrashing North Melbourne by 51 points, which left them in the top 4 after 6 rounds.
Hard and high. Watch Richardson go. Mickey played it beautifully. To Blakey. They're backing themselves. He's in trouble. Hilton to Richardson. Richardson from the pocket, as only he can do. Kicks a goal. Yeah, Bowden on again from Tivendale. There's the kick. Now he's got a couple short, Bowden. He's going to go for goal. He's Stuart June living, isn't he? Have a look at that. 3 in the last quarter he's kicked.
If I had to look at all the wins so far this year, this is the one I think the players will get the most belief out of. As they have been a bogey side for us, and they touched us up twice last year, and yeah, I think that, you know, over the years our record hasn't been great, but I suppose I'm only looking in isolation over the last 12 months. So from that point of view, we're wrapped to beat a quality side like that, and any side coached by Dennis Pagan, we know it's you've earned a win, and I think the boys really did earn that tonight.
The following week was a 46-point reality check by the hands of reigning premiers Essendon. The silver lining was the promising debut of Andrew Cracker, who showed his potential in kicking 2 goals.
Back at the centre, Knights is a chance. Hand pass, Zilla. Left foot kick by Zilla towards half forward. No mark. Here's Cracker again. Has he got another one? Yes, Andrew. Well done, Andrew.
After stumbling against the Cats, the Tigers got their season back on track with solid wins over Carlton and Sydney.
Richmond enjoy a 16-point advantage. Rogers could make it 22. To Ottens. A spectacular leap on the goal line. High, into the pocket. Silvani holding. Knights handball okay. Broderick. What can he do? Broderick, kick a goal! Kick a goal, Paul Broderick! The Crummers are in action. Chaffee across the full forward. Don't land on your shoulder, David. Not from that height, because that was a spectacular leap and mark.
In which Matthew Knight celebrated his 250th game alongside Kane Pettifer, who also made his debut.
Richmond coach Danny Frawley says he's sick and tired of people not taking the Tigers seriously. Preparing for Saturday night's crucial clash with Port Adelaide, Frawley wants Richmond to be feared. Christy Malthouse is at Punt Road, and Christy, if the Tigers want to be feared, dare I suggest it's up to the players to earn that respect.
Yeah, Stephen, well, Danny Frawley was very fired up tonight, and he wants the rest of the football world to consider the Tigers the real deal. But as you said, it's probably a bit of inconsistency on the Tigers' behalf over the past that has people fed up with them. Richmond haven't been in the finals since 1995, and in the past 2 years have actually missed out on making the top 8 with their result from the final game of the season. But today, Frawley and the Tigers said they want to put that and all of the past behind them and concentrate just on this season. So far, they've won 4 out of 6 games against top 8 sides this season. They've also strung 4 wins together twice already. So Frawley says they're on the right track, they are one of the top teams, and they're determined more than ever to prove their critics wrong.
We've had some terrific wins this year, and the sides on the weekend that I would have thought were expected to win and didn't, but we seem to be the whipping boy, and that's fine. We can't change anyone's mindset. We can only worry about what we can do. I think we're the second side in the 8 that have beaten sides in the 8, other than Essendon. We've beaten sides in the 8, I think, 5 times, and been beaten by 2 sides twice. So I think our record is pretty good against the top sides. We are a top side.
It was a dirty night against the Power, with the Tigers suffering a 44-point loss. Richo forgetting to pack his kicking boots.
There, and in fact, out on the full, runs to his left, gets the kick away to the goal square. Richardson will fly from behind, big grab. And then the long kick gave him a one-on-one contest with Tivendale. So from point-blank range, his kicking boots aren't on tonight.
However, he bounced back the following week against Melbourne and put on an absolute marking clinic.
And then goes bang, bang, bang for a goal. They're going to love it.
I think he needs to be left alone, and as he said, let's get on with our lives.
There's a lot of dignity about him tonight, isn't there?
Yeah, he's fallen on his sword to a degree as well.
So Tivendale kicks to half forward. Oh, Richardson! Blighty, you would enjoy this if you're watching. That was a beauty. That's the mark of the night.
I reckon he's done Ottens.
Going into the muchly anticipated rematch against the Western Bulldogs, the Tigers were sitting in 6th. The build-up to the match had the making of a final, and the Tigers were determined to show that they were a finals contender in 2001.
They made the statements after the last game. They said, wait until the next time. Now, if they want to step away from their statements, that's fine. But we took them at their word. I mean, they spoke for over a week about wait until the next time, wait until the next time. Well, the next time's arrived, you know, and we're here and we're happy to sort of take it on.
Harrison's hard run, ex-teammate, go to full forward. Ottens, a beauty.
That is a gun afterwards.
Second board, Post, Amble, Tawney, Cameron needs a good kick here, decides to set it up. Can Richo get involved or Ottens? Ottens, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Ottens in the front, down to King, well-read Tivendale, hardly seen him. Long kick, big kick, goal. It's a goal from nowhere. His range, he'll want to give it off here.
Ottens has got to be the target.
Geez, a funny old kick to Richo, got him, wants to play on almost.
No, I don't think he did. He thought about it.
45 metres out. He's done it. He's done it, Richo. Belts it forward. Richardson couldn't get into it really. Murphy, Knights, terrific tackle. Fioria needs something quick and finds it.
Play on.
Play on. Ottens belts it out. Ellis's little kick away. Tigers are at him. Ottens brilliant. Knights, clever. Wonderful stuff, Knights. Didn't blaze. Saw Richo and found him. He's got it. They're in front. They need a good kick. And they almost got Brown. He's kicked 3. He's kicked 4. What a goal.
He's a star.
And back they come again. What does he do with it? Sizes it up. Goes high. Brown and Zilla. Zilla nearly. Brown can't break it. Brown. Is it high? It's not paid. Gasper. The ball almost out. Johnson searching for it. Goes back. Cox gets something on it. Not enough. Gasper marks it. Whew. There's no second place in this match. There's only a winner. After what they built this up to be, there's no brave loser. The stakes are too high here.
Nathan Brown got knocked senseless in that tackle.
I tell you what, this is one of the great contests.
It's had it all.
Just important the Bulldogs go one-on-one. Can't let any free Tiger players appear.
They'll have one last dip at a contest here, the Doggies. They've got to force them into a contest.
They've done it. They've won the hard one.
This is the most important Richmond win, I reckon, for 20 years. This was a huge challenge for them. You saw the coach's box, the emotion shown there. Had they lost this one, their chances of playing finals were severely dented.
The win springboarded the Tigers into the back half of the season as they won 5 of their last 6 matches, ending the season on a high and finishing in 4th place on the ladder. This set up a qualifying final against reigning premiers and AFL powerhouses Essendon, who had won 41 of their previous 47 games.
Danny, your first final, how are you feeling?
Yeah, no, it's now preparation's been spot on, Andrew. We believe their preparation hasn't been as good throughout the last 10 weeks. Ours has been spot on. We're getting on the front foot and we're going to show the football world just really how good we are tonight.
After Richo kicked the opener, things went downhill quickly for the Tigers as they were beaten badly. Some bloke called Damien Hardwick showed Richmond what finals toughness really is.
Zilla. Gee, Hardwick was so fierce on Zilla there. Wasn't that brilliant footy?
As Essendon won by 70 points. This set up a semi-final against Carlton the following Saturday.
8:46 on the morning of Tuesday, September 11th, as American Airlines Flight 11 veered off course and hit the North Tower of the World Trade Center.
In what was a bizarre build-up following the September 11 terrorist attacks, Channel 7's coverage of the semi-final against Carlton was the first non-9/11 programming shown on TV. The Tigers were looking for only their second finals victory since the 1981 Grand Final, the last time they faced Carlton in September.
Looking to go short to Leon Cameron, one of the best deliverers of the ball in the business. Cameron into half forward, into the danger zone. Bowden! 42 metres out. He's kicked the goal for the Tigers. What a start they've made here at MCG. Ball towards the half-forward line. Campbell takes the mark. He's called to play on. He does so to Hilton. Hilton goes in towards the lead at full forward. It's a beauty. And Rogers will go back for the quick answering goal. Has a chance to again make it a 16-point margin. Matty Rogers kicks the goal.
Bowler goes back and leaves his man at ground level. Duncan Kellaway, the mongrel kick for goal.
Richardson on the half volley, had it and lost it, but King's there to assist him. Clinton King gives it away to Tivendale. Tivendale quickly to Cameron. Cameron long in towards full forward. Tigers have the charge. Yes! Zilla! Stephen Zilla. Stephen, 20 metres out. Can he break the drought? He can. Yes, he can.
The only down part about the day was the season-ending injury to Nick Daffy, who did his shoulder backing into a pack. This was the Ducks' last game for the Tigers, as he was traded to Sydney at the end of the year.
Up towards the half-forward line. Chance now maybe for Richardson. He's inside 50 over the top to Hilton. Is this the end for Carlton? It is! Hilton kicks the goal! Fletcher tries to fling it over the back. It's over. Richmond are through to a preliminary final. What a thrill for Danny Spud and his boys. I think every picture tells a story.
Grinning from ear to ear, Danny Frawley.
With his runner Dale Waitman, who of course was a champion player, premiership player back in 1980. They lost in 82. But Danny, well done.
I think he's telling the players to head down behind the goals for the faithful Richmond cheer squad.
The win was Richo's first in a final, as he was out injured during the 1995 campaign, and set up a preliminary final against the Lions at the Gabba.
Zilla with some space, to the wing, to the lead at centre-half forward. Good kick, good mark, Broderick. Where's Ottens and Richardson? Broderick quickly getting it moving. To Shepard. Loads! And how's that for the Tigers? And how's that for a goal? Keating and Gale, terrific contest here in the preliminary final Saturday night at the Gabba. Good conditions and an exciting start. Going for Broderick, has he caught that?
Grab.
Magnificent slips catch by Paul Broderick.
He slid into that to take the chest mark. He was being covered by Johnson and just caught it one-handed.
Cameron, the designated kicker from 50. That won't be a problem. Oh, what a goal by Leon Cameron.
Ultimately, though, it wasn't the Tigers' year, as they fell by 68 points to eventual premiers Brisbane, who under Lee Matthews went on to win the next 3 grand finals. The end of the 2001 season was also the end for Tiger legends Paul Broderick and Benny Gale, both who retired on their own terms. It was also the end of Channel 7, who after 45 years of broadcasting AFL were dropped themselves in favour for joint broadcasting, which was to be held by Channel 9 and Channel 10.
Can I just say it's been a privilege and a pleasure to be a part of one of sport's truly great journeys.
Sandy, a job well done. There is a real certain finality about walking out of the MCG on this great day, more so this year than any other for the 7 Network. The coverage of AFL footy may be in new hands. Footy will always be in our hearts. We'll continue to reflect the game in new and exciting ways. We will continue to support it. To our viewers, thank you for being part of this journey through the highs and lows of the past 45 years.
Tiger fans were optimistic that after such a promising season, a grand final appearance would just be around the corner.
Laid, Corns and the mighty Treadray against Richardson and the emerging Brad Ottens. Does the Cup's destiny rest in their hands?
I'm still here. I'm still full of the Holy
Good evening everyone and welcome to AFL Football on 10. It's the Wizard Cup Grand Final at Colonial Stadium between Richmond and Port Adelaide.
The Tigers made the 2002 pre-season cup final against Port Adelaide. Sadly, the competition wasn't quite what it was in the 90s. It eventually fizzled out and turned into pre-season practice games after Grant Thomas looked like he'd won a meat tray rather than a title in 2005. Channel 10 also unleashed one of my favourite broadcasting initiatives ever, the 5-minute warning.
To be changed tonight. 5 minutes remaining, so you won't see the clock after that. So there's 5 minutes of actual play remaining, and that, I guess, theoretically gives them enough time to kick 4 goals.
As Port Adelaide have won back-to-back pre-season titles, they have defeated the Tigers by 9 points.
Port Adelaide won the game, and the Tigers' attention turned towards the season opener against Collingwood in round 1. And wouldn't you know it, the president of the opposition would be calling the game for Channel 9.
Broadcaster Tim Lane, a prized recruit to Channel 9's football commentary team, has quit on the eve of the station's AFL debut. Lane has walked out in protest over the decision to allow Eddie Maguire to call Collingwood games. Leith Mulligan has the story.
The timing couldn't have been worse. 24 hours before the start of the season, the start of Channel 9's multi-million-dollar commitment to the code. Outside the ABC's South Bank headquarters, Lane, late today, reinforced his stance.
I have to be independent, I have to be seen to be independent.
They're excited, they're ready to go. The passion is brimming here at the MCG for season 2002 because this is AFL on 9.
Biased commentators aside, Channel 9's debut was also the debut of Greg Stafford, who was received from Sydney in exchange for pick 17 and Nick Daffy. Richmond's first pick in the draft, David Roden, also played, as well as recruit Adam Houlihan.
Wheels around onto that left foot, well worked out by Knights, on the mark, and the mark is taken by Richardson, hits the ground, fires a goal, and he's got it. Well worked, Tivendale, nicely done. Campbell feigns a hand pass, has the poise, kicks inside the 50. Well, Richardson, his man coming off the ground, in the hands of a trainer, will line up at his 4th goal. Richardson, meantime, his confidence soaring, and so is the Tigers' score.
Tigers got one with 2 seconds to go, and they lead by 31 points at quarter time in the opening stanza of season 2002. It's been an absolute beauty for the Tigers. 9 goals to 56, Collingwood 4-1-25. The goal kickers for Richmond, Matthew Richardson has kicked 4 goals, and singles to Tivendale, Andrew Cracker, Brad Ottens and Darren Gasper up from the back pocket to kick one as well.
King lays it off to Houlihan, kicks inside the 50, going back Richo.
He's doing it himself.
probability. I haven't got the figures, but I know it's good. Richardson, point-blank range, gets his 5th. Into the path of Kellaway, bounces obligingly for him, feeds it off. Bowden getting plenty of a footy now, measures the kick, 45 and closing, and that's a wonderful effort. Wonderful goal.
Puts it inside 50. Here's young Roden. Roden swings round onto the right boot, sets it up beautifully. Look at that. That's good poise for a young man in his first game of football. This for his first goal for the Tigers. Has kicked 58 career goals from 130 games. He comes in and kicks his first for the Tigers.
Putting on something of a clinic now. This is Roden off his step. In front, Houlihan. He'd be delighted with his debut. And there's the siren. It's in the book. The Tigers, after a brilliant opening term, a record-breaking opening term, their best ever against the Magpies when they beat it 9-2, set it up. And this is the end result in front of a big crowd in excess of 65,000. Danny Frawley would be feeling pretty happy.
Happy Matthew Richardson too, Dennis. What a great way to start the year, Matty.
Yeah, it's good to get off to a good start and get the 4 points early. That's what you want to do, so boys still okay tonight.
Spud Frawley wasn't exactly happy with his team's win.
Yes, well, let's go down to Danny Frawley now in the Richmond rooms.
Thanks very much, Eddie, and I don't know if it's relief or just sheer joy, but I think it might be a combination of both for you, Dan.
Oh, listen, after the first quarter, to Collingwood's credit, they came back, but I think I was really disappointed the way we played in the last 3 quarters. They were a little bit underdone. We knew we had them there, but I reckon it's a big tick for the Collingwood Football Club. They show a lot of heart out there. We probably should have won by more, but I'm not taking anything away from Collingwood's performance, but I was really disappointed the way we played in the last 3 quarters.
But nothing would prepare Richmond fans for what was about to transpire in the 2002 season.
Richmond star Matthew Richardson, who had taken 11 marks in the first half, tore his hamstring in a wretched night for the Tigers.
Their night has just gone from bad to absolutely disaster.
Cracker in the pocket, clever, he kicked a goal! Sensational play from Andrew Cracker. You won't see a better goal than that.
After losing 4 of their first 6 games, and with Matthew Richardson out injured, the Tigers got a much-needed win over Sydney in round 7 and steadied their season at 4-4 after 8 rounds.
28.5 gone, final turn. There's the siren! The Tigers have gone up by a goal!
But a terrible loss against second-last place St Kilda the following week left Frawley lost for words.
Yeah, disgraceful performance. Totally unacceptable and un-Richmond-like. Yeah.
Things didn't get much better from there. 4-12 in the second half against North Melbourne saw them lose by 11 points.
His confidence, he hit the post.
He's turning into the Arnold Brightus of this game.
It's 3-3 to 4-12 since half-time.
Before being absolutely belted by Port Adelaide, meaning their season was effectively over by round 13.
At the back, Burgoyne tries to flick it out. There was Sean, picked up by a Jew, comes back to Lade. Lade stops, goes again and kicks a goal.
Where do you start? We've had a chat about it as a group at this stage. What's said there might be best left behind closed doors.
The game against last place Carlton was touted as the battle for the wooden spoon. And things got off to a good start for Richmond.
Carlton here, bam to the open goal. Oh, that's an 11-point turnaround from the shot from Lappin, and the Tigers can quite rightly celebrate because they lead by 4 goals.
What happened next, though, left Tiger supporters, players and fans feeling as though they'd hit absolute rock bottom.
Kicked back strongly.
It's become 16th versus 14th in the last 5 minutes, though.
Yeah, that's for sure.
What's this? And he gave up on it all.
He gave up. He just became petulant. He actually cursed
Before it got there.
before it got to him. I'm still watching him, and he's there as if to say, "Oh, you blokes, I'm not going to try if you're not going to kick it to me."
Did it pretty well. Well, he crawls away on his knee, slips a hand pass to Cameron. Cameron on the overlapper, centering kick, goes towards Richardson. Was out of position that time, beaten by Beaumont.
You've got to slug Jordan this one. You've got to get the boy off.
You can't leave him on if he's just going to spit the dummy and say it's all you guys, your fault.
Richardson goes back long to the square. Campbell in two minds. Well, why not go to Richardson?
Against Richardson, he's paid it against for slinging Beaumont out of the road to try and make a lead.
Well, you have to say Richardson proving something of a liability so far tonight. The release very nicely. Coughlin runs through half back, kicks it up towards the wing. McKay from behind, defiant fist. Coughlin runs on though. Chance for the Tigers now. Tivendale is about 80 metres out, goes down towards the pocket. Richardson turns around, open goal beckons, goes over the top. Man on in the square, fumbles it.
Can you believe it?
Well, Richo says, I try and do the team thing, and what happens?
He's got to go to Roden now. He's got to turn around to Roden and say, keep your chin up, son. But he's cursed life at the moment. He's just gone to turn it in too soon. You feel for the kid, don't you?
It is amazing.
You've got to bunk the kid up if he does that. You can't just slag off at him. You've got to bunk him up from now. You need him.
Gambarelli goes for distance. Richardson completely misjudged it.
Sorry, Dennis.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just frustrated at him. He's had a nightmare.
Premature elevation. Watch this.
Yeah, and of the worst kind.
Yeah, needed to just thump it back inside 50 or take the mark.
Play the percentages. You got to play the percentage. Game on the line.
Well, that's what Lance Whitnell did. He played the percentage. He knew he was going to get jumped over, so he protected the drop zone of the ball.
Roll of the dice. Carlton are going to win. Over the top it goes. The countdown is on. 2-1. Carlton won by points.
Richmond then made the unusual decision the following Monday of announcing that the star forward had been dropped to their VFL side Coburg.
We've come to the conclusion, a mutual decision, that the only course of action for his unacceptable behaviour on Friday night is to go back to the VFL.
With the season gone and the Tigers languishing in second last, Frawley looked to the future and playing younger players for the remainder of the season, meaning club legend and former captain Matthew Knights announced his retirement and played his last game against Essendon in round 17.
And the final accolade to a champion to be cheered from the arena.
Listen to the crowd.
Richardson came back into the side with a renewed attitude, and the Tigers won 3 of their last 5 games to end the season in 14th position.
The man presenting himself beautifully, swings onto the right boot, a thumping right foot kick. Have a look at this from Richardson! He kicks his fourth! 4-0 for the Tigers to Matthew Richardson. His own decides to go long, looking for Richardson. Richardson searches for his man, then almost holds the mark. Does it well, beats him point blank, beats Hay, then has a bounce, then loses it, then gets it, stands up and kicks a goal! Free goal! 5 to Richo! He invents them every week!
Overall, though, it was a disappointing season for a club who had played off in a preliminary final the year before.
And 99 and 2001, if you have a look at those drafts, that you think about the dark days, that's when I used to beat myself up. Those drafts weren't great for us. It wasn't anyone's fault, but the players we picked up weren't anywhere near the calibre when you look at my adversary who started at that particular stage in Mark Thompson. No. The players we got, they tried their hardest, but they just weren't quite up to it, and that's not blame. It was initially with me, but not now. It was just that's the way it was.
On the back of the retirement of Matthew Knights, Richmond went all out in trying to bolster their midfield. They traded away Jason Tawney and their first 3 picks to Adelaide in exchange for Kane Johnson and picks 12, 28 and 41. Richmond used pick 12 to select Jay Schultz in the draft, but then traded away pick 28 to Essendon in exchange for Justin Blumfield. The 2003 season started with a 5-goal loss to Collingwood in round 1, causing some critics to write off the Tigers only 1 game in. But they fought back to beat the Bulldogs in round 2 at Docklands, and again in round 3 against Fremantle, before heading into round 4 Easter Monday against the Saints.
It's a beautiful autumn day in Melbourne, and the roof will stay open for the big clash between St Kilda and Richmond. Well, let's have a look at the AFL ladder, and we can see that Richmond, if they can win today, could go as high as second on the ladder. And of course, Steve, St Kilda a chance to get off the bottom.
Well, Danny, Matthew Richardson's certainly looking a lot better. Is he ready to fire?
Yeah, look, he's 2 days off playing last week, Christy, but look, he's been training the house down. He was leading the marks in the competition 2 weeks ago, so look, we're going to give him a free rein today. He's going to do a hell of a lot of running. If he opens up a vacuum for someone else, we'll be really pleased with that.
He's chosen not to wear any protective headgear. Are you worried at all he may be a little apprehensive?
No, not at all. We've done a hell of a lot of work the last 8 days, and he's really confident.
Kane Johnson missed a couple of training sessions. No worries he'll be able to complete the game?
No worries at all. He's look, it was a hard game last week, and the body soreness with the wet weather and playing on ball all day, he just took a little bit longer than other guys, and he trained well on Saturday. Elected not to train yesterday, but we're expecting to have a really good match-up in the middle with Harvey or Lenny Hayes, so he's got a big job.
To Johnson, so he's just outside 50. Heads in quickly, bobs it up. Richardson, where is he? Bluntfield's got it. Too tall, good use of the body, started behind. So Burke, about 15 from goal. Bluntfield will kick from about 20. And normally a good kick at goal. Bluntfield does just that. The Tigers have another.
Gets a free kick.
Roden.
Loose player Roden. Oh, got himself on hard third. He's got some pace and he runs in and kicks another one for the Tigers.
Chippendale. Around too easy. Roden again on his own. Will head into goal. Coghlan will ship it on that right foot. Handballs back to Coghlan. Left foot it is from about 30. Not a problem. Stafford, Houlihan, they'll line up with Bowden. Dummies around. Dummies second, third for a goal. It doesn't get better than that. Kept his head under pressure. At no stage did he want to kick on his right foot or handball.
3.
This kid will make a forward. Goal scorer and possession gatherer took a terrific mark. As the siren goes, there is no more. And the Tigers comfortable winners in the end, even though St Kilda came back in that last quarter. It was the Tigers by 26 points.
Wolsey, the Tigers are 4th. Can you believe it?
Well, they lost the first game. They came under a lot of scrutiny, and then they put 3 wins together. And they're looking the goods. I saw them today. I thought they hit in really hard.
But Mark Coghlan, one of the shining lights of the Tigers, joins us on the couch for the first time. Mark, welcome and congratulations on not only today's form, but your start in AFL footy.
Thanks a lot, Jared. Yeah, it's been a bit of a hectic year, I guess. You know, after the first round, people wrote us off a bit, which is a bit rough, I thought. And, you know, we're just putting away the wins now and looking forward to the year.
The run of the midfield, I just think it's improving each week. Tivendale, I thought, was in the boats with his game. Yeah. Little Roden's getting plenty of the ball. Fiora's improving. And Kane Johnson, of course, you must be delighted to be able to play alongside him.
Yeah, look, he just adds another dimension to our game. You know, in and under, gets the handball out to our outside players like Tiver, who had another good game. So, you know, it's something we've really needed, and is, like I said, add another dimension to our game.
There's never a discussion about the Tigers without the name of number 12, Richo, coming into the discussion. Yeah. The cheer squad really embraced him today, didn't they? There was a chant about Richo. What does he do for the morale of the team when you know that you missed him last week and he's back this week? Can you sense it before the game that Richo's in and an extra level of excitement?
Look, he really is a leader. I know there's been a bit of media about his sort of bad body language and all that sort of thing, but he really doesn't have a go at you on the field. It's just sort of just how fired up he gets, I guess, and he's, you know, he's good to have out there. There's no doubt about that.
Mark Coghlan had a stellar start to the year and was enjoying the additional midfield time alongside new recruit Kane Johnson. But no one was prepared for what was about to occur in round 5 against the Hawks.
Dangerous, the Hawks. Thompson in front to Rawlings. Comes back, Clark. Quick hands to Dixon, can kick a goal, should kick a goal, does kick a goal.
Shortly before half-time, the Tigers trailed by 51 points. They then kicked 14 consecutive goals to set up a memorable 20-point win.
Johnson now, standing start to the goal square once again. Choice of 2, Stafford or Richardson. Stafford wants to burst through Coghlan, eventually gives it to him, and Coghlan doesn't let him down. As well, could be important. Crawford with the right. It just falls to Stafford. Oh, they don't come any easier than that.
By Campbell, sets it up. The general, the playmaker to Johnson, inside 50. Got it! Richardson! Quick hands, he's very unselfish play. He's given it away, and Coughlin has kicked a goal.
And a lot of players around the forward 50, so they're trying to leave some space for Richardson to run into. Good setup, Terry.
It was a good setup, but that shows that he's gaining his confidence back as well. He was actually prepared to throw himself at that one, and there were bodies in front of him. And when you're coming back from a cheekbone, all very well doing the wrestling stuff, but to really just charge at the ball is difficult.
They've played on. Once again, they've played on, and this time it's Campbell who's on the end of it. And another goal to the Tigers. 4 in a row to Richmond. They're back in the game. 27-point margin. One-on-one with Stone. Body work. Waited for the cavalry to arrive through Osborne, but look at that by Cracker. Got in underneath it first. Got it back out to Stafford. Oh, great work. The goal goes to Stafford, but the great work is Cracker.
And it is going to actually come back to Stafford.
Yep.
So 2 Richmond players there appealing for the free kick. And Stafford, who's booted 2 goals, 1 in the second quarter and 1, of course, at the start of this third term. Now to bring the Tigers back to within 15 points after trailing by 51 points. Early in the game, Stafford from just 15 metres out, rams it home.
To counteract Stafford and Richardson, others can come 3 deep and chance their arm to take marks.
Chance for the Tigers, Stafford in the ruck, again Peel for the free kick, Cracker can kick a goal! The Tigers have dragged it back to just 9 points.
Working hard, gets support from Mitchell. Crawford went without it, Coughlin didn't. Backs himself to kick a goal. Inside 50 for 8 in a row to the Tigers! Oh, yes indeed! Coughlin gets another one. That's his third. Margin 3 points, and they're way on top everywhere, but more importantly, Terry, out of the middle once again. Into the middle, Campbell. Had his little spell on the bench, and he's back out getting it.
And it was courage. He's running against the flight of the ball. Just real courage. Hands off to Leon Cameron.
Designated kick is a designated goal, and the Tigers have hit the front.
Run through Kane Johnson. Looking for Richardson. Smith did very well. Pounced on by Roden. Runs to 25. Closes to 20. Roden kicks a goal. Tigers by 8 points. Coming down the ground. Richardson's really limping. I reckon he's gone, Richardson. That right thigh heavily strapped. Maybe that's why he handballed off late in that second quarter on 2 occasions. He didn't have a shot. So it looks like a thigh problem there.
Could be either, couldn't it? Could be a string or a thigh.
So Richardson is off. I don't think we'll see him again today. O'Houlihan from 45 metres leans back, unloads, leaves nothing behind, and hammers home a goal.
This will be possession number 23, but he's taken it inside their forward 57 times.
And I think most of those 23 would have come from about 10 minutes before half-time.
Yeah, he doesn't waste the footy very often. From 55 metres, not bad. Oh, why not make it 14, Kane? 14 in a row to the Tigers, 31-point margin. This is unbelievable.
Vandenberg backtracks, concedes ground, finally lands in the arms of Reese as the siren sounds. And what a great day for the Tigers. It's been a fantastic performance. They've come from 51 points down, and they have defeated Hawthorn 18-7, 115. They've won by 20 points, 14-11, 95 the Hawks.
The following 2 weeks included a loss to Port Adelaide at Footy Park before the Tigers bounced back against a declining Essendon by 42 points at the MCG. All of a sudden, the Tigers were 5-2 going into round 8 against the Demons.
Last 23 against the Bombers, but today they were able to answer the challenges and run out convincing winners by 42 points, and in fact, in the end, doubling Essendon's score.
Like today, well, I think they're a real threat for the finals.
So is Joel Bowden across half back. He's got it all ahead of him. in here, Joel Bowden. Goes long to Richardson. Listen, test his knee. Looks all right to me. Richo Tyson, too far out to score. Pettiford demanding it at centre-half forward. Kane Johnson, the unlikely target, makes his break. And Whelan was gutsy, so was Johnson. Flying snap from Pettiford. Here's long. It's strong. And it is a goal.
Mark number 15 for Matthew Richardson. Goes long. Stafford's in the goal square. One out. The gamble's paid off. His opponent wasn't able to get a fist on it. Greg Stafford, 10 metres out, directly in front. He's kicked 2. This will make it an 8-point ball game if he can convert. It's the Tigers by 9 points. Another Richmond big man. Here's the side. Tigers have won a fantastic game of footy.
6-2 after 8 rounds, 3rd place on the ladder, and a wave of momentum. Finals, here we come, right? Yeah, not quite.
Was pretty good as well. Out comes Richo, who can feed off to King or do the big U-turn. The side's on the U-turn. Now he kicks, looking for Timmendale and Ottens has got it. Beautiful play there by Richo. In game 100, he's kicked 126 goals, 66. This to get back within 2 points. Brad Ottens comes in. Tiger fans tell you the score. It's a major.
Off initially by Stevens, robbed of it. Fleming, long ball to full forward. Must be a free kick to Ottens, doesn't matter.
Big man Brad Ottens returned from injury in round 11 against the Kangaroos. He kicked 2 crucial goals, but the Tigers ultimately lost in a highly emotional game that's mostly remembered for the return of Jason McCartney, who was a survivor in the 2002 Bali nightclub terrorist attacks.
Too little, too late. Fairy tales do come true.
The Tigers' only win from their last 14 games of the season came in round 17 against eventual wooden spooners, the Western Bulldogs. Richmond recruit Martin McGrath scored 5 goals on debut. His career lasted another 3 games and he was delisted at the end of the season. Frawley and the Tigers had their second successive 7-15 season, giving him a 31% win rate for the previous 2 years. The pressure was on in order for him to keep his job with 1 year left to run on his contract.
So I basically come to the stage where I just said to the guys, and they agreed that, you know, if I didn't make finals, it was probably all over. And I think that was pretty realistic. Yep. You know, I had 2 very ordinary years, and I wasn't going to shy away
14, 13,
from that. Yeah, that's right.
Before,
yeah, it was very ordinary.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to season 2004. It's the Wizard Cup between the Western Bulldogs and Richmond. A special welcome, everybody, tonight. It's going to be a beauty. These 2 teams both nailed in round 1 last year, so we're going to get a winner tonight. Some new names, some new rules.
Him and the new Ochre jumper, and this man, Nathan Brown, from the Bulldogs over to the Tigers in what was a pretty controversial deal in the end. The big question is with Nathan Brown, where are you going to play him? And that's a decision that they are going to have to make, the Tigers. He can play in the midfield. He got 21 possessions average in 2001. But in 2003, just 15 touches, but kicked 56 goals, 51. That's 107 shots at goal. Now, that is phenomenal. And really was just not the sort of season we could expect. Where should he play? The $1.6 million question. Does he go forward? Does he go in the middle? For mine, I think he's a forward. I think they're playing 3/4 of the match up there. Let him have a run in the middle just to try and shake a tag. They should try and look at 60 goals plus from Nathan Brown, and that'd be a pretty fair return on their investment.
Ironically, new recruit Nathan Brown had to play his first match for the Tigers against his old side, the Western Bulldogs, in the Wizard Cup. Ultimately, though, things were looking good, as the Tigers had a solid win against Collingwood in the first game of the official season. Richardson and Brown worked well together up forward, so there were very high expectations of the Tigers going forward in season 2004.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to round 2 of AFL action. this 2004 Toyota AFL season. It's going to be a beauty from the MCG. The better of the old co-tenants as Melbourne takes on the Tigers. Richmond out onto the ground nice and early for this big game here tonight, led out by Wayne Campbell, and the Tigers are white hot at the moment. Gary Lyon, welcome aboard. Friday Night Football AFL on 9. It's going to be a beauty tonight.
Yeah, good evening, Ed. Great to be here. It is going to be a beauty for lots of reasons. Richmond were fantastic last week in the season opener. Melbourne disappointing, but a big night for Melbourne on and off the field. A bit like Matthew Richardson, who always attracts a lot of attention, but gee, did he deliver last week?
Well, the Tigers, they delivered last week, no doubt about that. This big stage, the biggest stage in home and away football, Friday night at the MCG, and they delivered. Fixing up Collingwood by 40 points with Richardson kicking 5 and Nathan Brown kicking 2. We'll have a good look at them in a moment. They're the two highlighted on your screen.
Yeah, it's amazing what one game can do for a footy club. Mark Chaffey comes into the side, really respected leader, but this is a match made in heaven. They look like they'd been together for 10 years, Nathan Brown and Matthew Richardson. The supply and delivery from Brown to Richardson was great, and Richo just handed Brownie a couple back. But I think this man's underestimated, Wayne Campbell. A genuine leader of this footy club. He rallies the troops, he makes great decisions, and I think they're a much, much better side when he's out on the field.
Matthew Richardson averages 8 marks against the Melbourne Football Club. He's kicked 46 goals in 13 matches against the Demons. Last week he took over half of Richmond's 20 marks inside their forward 50. He is vital.
He is, and he gets a bum rap with his goal kicking, Eddie. When you have a look at his statistics, he's got an average just over the AFL average, just under 60%. He's 61% of his goals come from marks. 42% of his marks are contested, more than any other player in the AFL in the past 5 years. He hasn't played a full season since 1996. His aerobic capacity is second to none. He's rarely, or if ever, outmarked. What he needs to do is concentrate on just the next contest, not get caught up in past errors. He's got to develop a selfless side to his game, and there were signs that that was coming about last week.
Towards the line, and it goes across.
Yeah, a shattering blow for the Tigers, isn't it, on the back of what was such a huge result. Now they kicked, that's Melbourne's highest score last year, so there's an opportunity to knock that off in the next 7.5 minutes.
Godfrey to Brown, there's the siren.
He can cheer now, Gary.
Not much to boo about.
Fantastic. Wonderful victory, Melbourne. 2015, 135 over the Tigers, who were big winners last Friday night on Friday Night Football. 12-4-76. 35 scoring shots to 16.
After being unceremoniously belted by the Demons after going into the match as favourites, the Tigers hoped to bounce back against St Kilda the following Easter Monday, a team they easily accounted for in the corresponding game the previous year.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Telstra Dome here in Melbourne for this Easter Monday clash between the Saints and the Tigers. It's been a fascinating round of football so far. Time to welcome Michael Christian. Let's hope this game is as good as some of the other close ones we've seen this weekend.
Absolutely, and I give Richmond a real chance this afternoon. Great opening round against the Magpies, very disappointing last week, but at their best, they can certainly beat St Kilda this afternoon.
Well, which Richmond team will turn up? That's the big question, I suppose. They got thrashed by the Saints in the Wizard Cup.
Yes, they certainly did. They just need a more concerted effort, I think, from their midfield to give their tall forwards an opportunity. If they can get the ball quickly and directly into Richardson and Ottens, I really think they're a real chance today.
Well, the roof will be open today. Let's go down to the coach, the man in control of the Tigers, Danny Frawley, and he's with Andrew Marr.
Yeah, thanks very much, Hutto. So good round one. Disappointing last week. How are you reading them coming into this one?
Look, we're confident. They're a very good team. Our best is very good enough to win the game. We're just going to make sure our tackling's a lot better than last week and we get first hands on it. We think we can really get the ball inside our forward 50 and expose their defence, but we've got to get first hands on it first.
Well, you are going small on the bench right from the word go. Are you backing your tools? Is that where you think you can win this game?
We're going to back our midfield to get first hands on. Their midfield's very good. We think we're very capable as well, so that's where the game's going to be won and lost.
Otten 6 marks for the day, 7 make it now after that one. And 11 possessions, but no goals. Stafford also no goals. And of course Matthew Richardson, who got injured very early, no goals. Johnson to the square, all St Kilda, and the game ends.
Double deja vu as Richmond slipped to a 1-2 record. Alarm bells were starting to sound. However, a home game in round 4 against the last place and winless Cats became crucial if the Tigers were to get their season back.
Kingsley at half forward. Killaway, the meat in the sandwich. Kingsley, Haynes charging through. The former Eagle goes for home. Another one!
A 49-point loss to the bottom side, and Richmond's season was on the line in only round 5. Once again, they were scheduled to play Friday night footy, and for the second week in a row, they were playing against the last place team on the ladder, the winless Adelaide Crows.
Winless Adelaide and the Tigers with just 4 points on Friday Night Football, and away we go.
They'd be stunned, Richmond supporters. They're absolutely stunned. They'd be coming here expecting a spirited performance.
Why?
Well, there's a lot of talk, a lot of build-up, you know, on the game on the line, season on the line. You'd expect...
The Tiger supporters turned up in force at the Telstra Dome and were stunned with what they were seeing.
Chaffee back towards half-back. Bowden goes off his step, taken by Campbell. Thought about the gift to Fleming. There's the siren. Well, one can only wonder what's going through the minds of those men. They have been down this path before, as recently as round 4, and these people ditto. They've got to look deep now and find something, otherwise this could become farcical.
Very sadly, that shock soon turned to anger, and in one of the most darkest days for the Richmond Footy Club, the fans turned on players and coach in some of the ugliest scenes ever witnessed on a football field.
Where to after this for the Tigers? I'm reminded of what a Texan once told me, Jim, and I think it's applicable somehow, some way tonight. All hat, no cap. Sure it fits. I like it.
Bit of chin scratching is what I'm trying to say there. Greg Miller, Tony Jewell, Clinton Casey, Coughlin.
I don't think there's any doubt that this is the bottom out. It's how long you stay on that bottoming out phase before you start to hook up the other side of the J.
They ain't got much coming back in the short term unless Big Richo gets on his bike.
Over the shoulder!
That's the question, how long they stay down there on this level.
23 seconds left. 69 points. Crows to record their first win since beating West Coast in the second elimination final last September. They won that on 56 points as well. John Cock.
Let's score again here.
Over the top. Big kick. A big kick. 75 points as Stevens gets goal number 3.
Pressure has been pretty high. Ezzy's been copping it. Duck's been copping it. We're stuck tight and we got the result.
I think there's a few others copping it tonight. Well done, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Tony. Let's have a listen to what Danny Frawley's copping. Well, there you go. Unfortunately for Tiger fans, it's a familiar scene, and now the players come off.
Yep, tough business. Tough business. Well, I wouldn't be yelling at Fleming. That bloke looked Fleming in the eyeball.
Yeah.
Or plural.
Man, he was brave.
Yeah, well, he's brave, but also the last bloke that you should be doing that to. I mean...
No, I mean Fleming was brave tonight.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. That bloke right there in the blue, he just spat on the Richmond players. Now, I hope we got a good look at him and a good shot at him, because you can talk all you like. That bloke there, that is a gutless effort, mate. Pay your money, come and support your team, but don't go spitting on the players.
Nathan Bock.
And let's just have a look at this. Let's not forget that the players put their all on the line. They come in. It's heartbreaking for players in that situation. It's heartbreaking for the club, the president, the coach, the football directors, everybody. Look at this, a broken window as well. There's somebody belted the window in frustration tonight.
Players never come off the ground and think, I didn't try my best. You know, you do try your best when you're out there. Sometimes you have to almost wait till the week after and think, did I do everything possible? Whether it was the application, in the methodology or whatever, but...
Yeah, but Jim, this is the week after. I mean, the week after. These players are getting well practiced at those looks.
That's exactly right.
You just wonder how sincere they are.
That's a fair point. I thought there would be fire and brimstone tonight. Maybe they aren't capable of it, but it was a very disappointing yelp if they did give one.
The horrible scenes, Danny,
How did you feel? Can you remember?
No one wants to go through that, Mike. And as a coach, I think you invariably go through it at some stage of your coaching career. I think the big thing for me was the waters got muddied between the coaching and the Frawley name. And then I drove to work that week and I could hear my sister, Anne, on the radio saying that Danny's a good fella. And that really was tough. And then my mother was ringing me up, people wanted to make a comment. I'm thinking, this is actually bigger than coaching. And I thought, well, gee, that's not the way it should be.
And a fan spits on you as you're walking up the race. How frustrating was that? You talk about the passion of Richmond supporters. That's there, but that's not what anyone should put up with at a footy ground.
No, it's not. I think, and gladly that never happened again. And let's hope it does. And I know it's in the media for all the right reasons. I never sort of felt it happen. It was only when the players walked out of the rooms I saw the leading news story, and I thought, wow. And then you hear your sister in tears the next day. One of the media got hold of her, and and all of a sudden I thought, gee, the Frawley name started somehow getting mixed up in, the whole scenario. The whole of Bungaree was sort of behind me. And the next, that was tough. That was a tough week. I think the footy show wanted to get me on. I said it was because I was pretty emotional, very emotional actually, and Anita, I got my beautiful wife Anita to go on the footy show on the Thursday night. So from that was tough. We're playing another bloody Friday night. Hawthorn. Wow. We won the game. And I remember my late father and mum and all my family and a couple of busloads from Bungaree come down. They come into the rooms before the game.
Here's Danny Frawley coming down at three-quarter time. His wife Anita in the crowd there, looking after him, and give him a round of applause. Danny under the pressure of a lifetime at the moment. The crowd, the Tiger Army have been up on their feet, and here we go, a goal the difference. Tigers in front against the Hawks. A battle to the death. Okay, we're ticking down to 2 minutes left. These two teams have never played a draw in 138 games of football against each other. And they might not yet, because Fleming runs to the open goal for the Tigers. Kicks a point. Might be enough, Ed.
He's had a couple of opportunities in this last quarter now.
Hawthorn down by a point. It could change. Vandenberg.
Trip.
A free kick is coming back. It'll be to the Hawks. Vandenberg.
It's not through yet with Rich. He's not the greatest set shot in the world. He's kicked 3-1 this year and 38-31 in his career.
Gee, was that a trip?
What he should do is go down and hit with cramp all of a sudden and hand it over to Loney.
Well, it's all about raw emotion now at every level. Vandenberg, no certainty, tired legs, steps inside the 50, hangs it out to the right, and the mark is taken by Hall. 30 seconds to go. Ray Hall on the goal line between the behind post and goal post. To the opposite pocket, and the Tigers are going to win. The huge cloud is lifted. What a game.
And I must admit, subconsciously, I thought, no, that's it, I'm done. Yeah, I never told anyone, and we won that game, and I thought, and for whatever reason, we didn't win too many more after that. But that was the night mentally I thought, no, that's it. It's taken too much out of me. My three girls, mum and dad, and it wasn't woe is me. It was just the fact that particular week got bigger than football for some reason, which was disappointing, coming from a little town where everyone bands together.
I tell you what, he's had plenty of support from Bungaree.
Oh, up around the area there. He's a real, really.
Yeah. You proud of him, Brian?
Oh well, I've had rings. We've took the phone off last weekend. All the family from people wishing us all the best.
Yeah, well that's
the Ballarat and Central Highlands and trotting people, you name it.
Well, it's great to see the Tigers are back, and so's the smile on your son's face.
Oh, lovely, beautiful.
Good on you, mate.
Following the Hawthorn win, the Tigers won 2 more games for the season. The following week against the Bulldogs, big man Matthew Richardson recorded his best ever haul in a game, scoring 10 goals.
He's kicked 8, now he's kicked 9.
Beautiful back. There's the short kick. Oh, they've turned it over. Richo for 10!
After kicking a bag of 10, Richo kept things going the next week against Sydney at the SCG, where he bagged another 7 goals in the wet.
No mark to O'Keefe, and now Richardson can pump it long. Arrogance with a bounce. Goes with a drop punt. He's hit that off the boot from 60. And here come the Tigers. Richardson's got 6.
Johnson looks inboard and finds Richardson. Drop punt on the way. He has got it. They're 2 goals up, the Tigers.
From that, gave Campbell a bit of freedom and almost plays like a sweeping quarterback. The Tigers have done it for the first time in 13 outings. Interstate on the road, they come away with a win.
Spud still kept his sense of humour about him during what was a very hard season.
All the players were getting asked if Danny was going to survive. Are you hearing anything about Danny losing his job? And no comment, no comment. So, you know, he was under severe pressure and he knew it, we knew it. So we get into the team meeting up in the Graham Richmond room, which was upstairs at Punt Road under the old grandstand. And we're all sitting down waiting for the team meeting. And it wasn't going to be a good team meeting. We'd been flogged. So you're sitting there thinking in your mind, gee, I hope he doesn't show that edit, or is he going to show this edit? Anyway, Danny was always punctual. I mean, we had this thing, Tiger time. You had to be on time. In fact, be early. So we're all sitting there. Everyone was on time and no sign of Danny. And then he eventually walked in about 20 minutes late. You know, a lot of players had their head down. You didn't want to make eye contact because you knew you were going to get a good spray. And back then, you know, it was a bit of the old school philosophy where you still got sprayed. So you didn't want to make eye contact. So a lot of us didn't notice that Danny had walked in with the compressor that you put the air into the footballs with, right? Anyway, he got up the front and he puts the compressor down next to him and he's looking at us and we're waiting for him to say something. And then pretty quietly he goes, boys. And as he said that, he's lifted up the compressor and he's holding it up above his head. He goes, what am I? And a couple of the guys down the front, like I was down the back, I was too smart, you know. Get down the back.
Avoid the spit.
Yeah, I'm just a veteran by that point. Get down the back and avoid making too much eye contact. Anyway, he's held it up and the kids at the front have gone, oh, no, Danny, what are you? And he said, boys, what am I? And again, I think one of the young kids goes, I don't know, Danny, what are you? And he goes, I'm under the bloody pump. And he's got the compressor up here.
That's a classic.
And it's 100% true. And we all just, and that was Danny to a T.
That's so funny.
We all burst out laughing. And
ultimately, though, the writing was on the wall. Spud quit with 4 games to go in the season and ended his coaching career after the round 22 loss to Hawthorn, making way for new Richmond coach Terry Wallace to take over in 2005. The Tigers also won their 6th wooden spoon, their second since 1987.